Today, we're journeying across the vast Pacific to tackle a really fascinating question. How do you make the invisible world, the world of spirits, gods, and ancestors, visible? We're going to see how the incredibly diverse cultures of this region used art to do exactly that. Okay, so just imagine for a second. You live in a world with no books, no writing at all. How do you pass down your most important beliefs, your history, your entire understanding of the cosmos? Well, for the peoples of the Pacific, the answer was art. Art that was powerful, symbolic, and made these huge, intangible ideas totally tangible. So, we're diving into the region we call Oceania, which literally means lands of the ocean. And that's the absolute key right there. For these cultures, the ocean wasn't some scary barrier. It was a superhighway, connecting thousands of islands and peoples into this vibrant, totally interconnected world. And the history here is, well, it's just incredibly deep. We're talking about people arriving in Australia as far back as 50,000 years ago. Then you've got Melanesia being settled around 1500 BC, and the final big wave of settlement reaching Polynesia around 500 CE. These are some seriously ancient roots we're talking about. All right, so our first stop is Australia. This is a place where art is completely tied up with a foundational spiritual philosophy known as the dreaming. You can find some of the oldest art on the entire planet right here, on rock walls all across the continent, with some engravings dating back tens of thousands of years. But these aren't just ancient art galleries. Oh no. To the Aboriginal people, these are sacred places, literally inhabited by the spirits of their ancestors. Okay, so to really get this art, you have to understand the dreaming. It's this core spiritual belief that powerful ancestral beings shaped every part of the world in a mythical past. But here's the thing. The dreaming isn't over. It's a spiritual realm that exists right now alongside our own. And when a person dies, their spirit actually journeys back to be reabsorbed into it. And this piece? Wow. It's a perfect illustration of how art tells that story. This is a bark painting called Jala Lambo. And it's not just a cool pattern. It's basically a map and a guidebook for a soul's dangerous journey back to the dreaming. So the painting tells us that the soul transforms into a catfish to swim along a spiritual river. But this journey is full of danger. Predatory diver birds are trying to snatch it out of the water. And this isn't just a story on bark, It's acted out. During funerals, men swing these things called bull roars to make a whirring sound just like the birds, while dancers, painted as catfish, scatter in ritual terror. They're literally performing the soul's perilous quest. The symbolism here is just incredible. That central rectangle, it isn't just a coffin. It is the catfish soul. And see those two circles up top? Those are the eyes of the ancestors, watching from the dreaming as the soul makes its way home. The art itself becomes the bridge between these two worlds. Okay, let's journey now to Melanesia, which are the islands north and east of Australia. Here, the whole purpose of art kind of shifts. It's not just about telling stories about the spirit world. It's about actually bringing the spirits into our physical world. And right away, we see two completely different approaches to this. On the left, you've got the Ambum Stone from Papua New Guinea. It's one of the oldest sculptures in all of Oceania, carved from hard stone, made to last for millennia. And then on the right, these are Malagan sculptures. They're unbelievably intricate and beautiful, but they were made to be used just once in a ceremony, and then they were destroyed or just left to rot. So why would you create something so amazing just to get rid of it? Well, because the object itself wasn't meant to be a permanent piece of art. It was a tool, a piece of equipment for a ritual, a Malagan, that was used to honor the dead, strengthen the clan's identity, and even settle things like land rights. Once that ritual was over, the object's spiritual power was spent. Its job was done. Masks were, of course, another huge way to make spirits real. This Kak Morning Mask didn't just look like a dead chief. When it was worn in a ceremony, it was believed to embody his spirit and all of his continuing power. The performer would even carry the chief's clubs and lash out at the crowd, just to remind everyone that the chief's authority hadn't died with him. All right, for our final leg of the journey, we're heading into Micronesia and the vast Polynesian Triangle. And here, the whole concept evolves again. Art doesn't just materialize a spirit, it can become the literal body of a god. So first, in Micronesia, we find these absolutely stunning, minimalist Nukuoro figures. The human form is just boiled down to its absolute essence. You got this ovoid head, sloping shoulders, a simple line for the chest. It's a totally different look, but the goal was the same, to capture a divine or ancestral presence.
And then you get to Polynesia, and art just becomes monumental. On Rapa Nui, or as you probably know it, Easter Island, we find the world-famous moai. These colossal stone figures were carved as memorials to powerful rulers, designed to project their spiritual authority over the entire landscape, long, long after they were gone.
I mean, the scale is it's mind-blowing. We're talking nearly 1,000 of these statues were carved and put up. Some of them are over 36 feet tall and weigh tens of tons. Just think about the massive societal effort that took. It's a huge testament to the power of their beliefs. Over in Hawaii, divine status was something you could actually wear. Rulers who believed they were descended directly from the gods would wear these absolutely spectacular feathered cloaks. And these garments weren't just symbols of power, they were seen as actual manifestations of the sacred. What's so amazing is that making these things was a sacred ritual in itself. High-ranking weavers would chant the names of the chief's ancestors, literally weaving their spiritual power, what they called mauna, right into the fabric of the cloak. And since yellow feathers were the rarest and most sacred, the more yellow you had on your cloak, the higher your divine status was. But perhaps the ultimate expression of this whole idea comes from the Maori of New Zealand. When you look at a traditional meeting house like this one, you are not looking at a building. You are looking at the body of their supreme god, the Sky Father. The architecture is literally an anatomy of the divine. That long ridgepole running down the center, that's his spine. The rafters coming down, those are his ribs. And the carved face on the outside, that's his face. So to hold a meeting inside means you are doing it within the protection and the authority of the god himself. And once you're inside, you are not alone. The walls are lined with these powerful carvings of ancestors, and their eyes are watching over every single thing that happens. They aren't just decorations. They are considered active participants in the discussion, making sure everything is done right. You are literally having a meeting in a room full of gods and ancestors. So whether it's telling the story of a soul's journey in Australia, materializing a spirit for a single ritual in Melanesia, or building the literal body of a god in Polynesia, the art of the Pacific always serves this one profound purpose: to connect our physical world to that invisible world of spirit, power, and meaning. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In our own world, which is just saturated with images and objects, which of them truly connect us to something deeper? What stories do the things that we create and we cherish actually tell about our own invisible beliefs?